religious state, a theocracy. My father somewhat differed with his father because of also being a hippie from the 60s in Woodstock and all of those things. And my father became somewhat more liberal than his own father. So I was raised in a religious home. We would go to church every Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and also Wednesday evenings, 3 times a week. I was taught to make dua before I ate. I was taught to pray before I sleep. I mean, if you didn't pray before you ate or sleep in my house, you would get beat down by my mother. My mother would let you have it, basically. At the dinner table, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Strict rules. If you weren't home by Maghrib, my mother will come and find you, drag you home in front of your friends in the car. Somewhat religious, but also my mother, being from the countryside, brought a lot of those important qualities of the people. You know, people in the country have a lot of fitra. You have like the Patani here, you know, the farmer people. They have very good natural qualities. Raised in that household, sent to church my whole entire life. I used to wear a suit and tie every day. Every time I would go to church, have on my best clothes, have the mandila, you know, take a bath, and go to church. When I was 5 years old, basically, as a young man, young Christian in America, Americans, as you know, we're known to be religious extremists. It's one of the qualities, unfortunately, that Americans have. Going to church until about the age of 5 years old, I would say that what I learned was Islam in church. I learned about the prophets. I mean, they're not going to give you any type of heavy theological dose, you know, at 4 years old, although some of them now are doing that, by the way. But then at the age of 6, they told me, now you're going to learn what it means to be a Christian. Like, this is going to be like your rite of passage or something, you know. So I went to church and they said, you know, today we're going to talk about someone named Jesus. So keep in mind, prior to this, I had learned all of the prophets. Actually, we had to memorize all of the prophets' names, all of the books of the Old Testament, all the chapters of the New Testament, and so on and so forth. So at that time, my understanding of Christianity was basically Islam as a child. Because the Prophet said, كُلُّ بَنِي آدَمْ وُلِدَ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Prophet said in the sound hadith, every son of Adam is born on fitrah. فَأَبُوهُ يُمَجِّسَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانِهِ أَوْ يُهَدِّهَانِهِ. Then he says his father, or his parents here, take an active role in shaping the religious personality of that child, whether it's Christian, Jew, or fire worshiper. So, being told that Jesus, on that Sunday, there's a new plan. There's a new blueprint. And that is that this man is God. So they actually had him on like a long time ago, before all of you were born, I'm sure. These like felt tip blackboards where you could like make puppets and stick them on the board. So they had God on the board, man. They were telling us, this is God. Then the teacher said, or the Son of God. So is it God or the Son of God? In Arabic, the beauty of the Arabic language is if you want to define something, this is based on Aristotelian principles, by the way. You are not allowed to use the word or. Because when you use or in defining something in Arabic, this means you doubt its original nature. You feel shak in mantiq. So she said, God or Son of God? Now, I'm not my father, but I'm definitely his son. I don't come to you and say, either I'm Dr. Webb or I'm the son of Dr. Webb. You have me committed to one of the local hospitals for the Majani. So I remember at the age of 6 experiencing profound confusion. Profound confusion. And I was into religion. So I went home that night and my mother, may Allah guide her also, she was singing us to sleep. You have to be careful of developing an imagery of the West, which is basically like Pamela Anderson or Beyonce. That's not the West. You know, there are people in the West who are deeply committed religious people. They're just not Muslims. My mother is one of those people, man. Till now, if I go to my mother's house, she'll tell me that has pork in it, don't eat that. That silverware has gold on it, don't use that. It's my mother. That restroom is clean, use that restroom. She's a non-Muslim. So you have to kind of broaden sometimes your perspectives. So Going home, my mother sits down with me on the bed. How was your day? First day of what they call Hebrew school. You're going to become a Hebrew now. So I said, I'm kind of confused, man. I was only 6, so I'm sure I said it in a little different manner than that. And she said, why? I said, I really don't know who God is, man. And as he mentioned earlier, and I think you also alluded to that, not knowing, Piaget has a theory of cognitive dissonance. Not knowing who God is not fun. It's not a good experience to have, especially if you want to know who God is. So I told my mother, is he God or the Son of God? She told me, I really don't know. I said, man, when you're 6, you think your mother is like, Gandalf, like on Harry Potter, man. She knows everything, right? So, to hear your mother say, I don't know, about something like this, is not very good for you as a young person. So then I said to her, let me ask you a question. They said that he's the truth, the way, and the light. This is the statement that they teach you. And in order for you to get salvation, we talked about this last night, because that's the main issue, how to get salvation. You have to believe that he's God or Son of God. Either or, right? Either or is fine, no problem, it could be, no big deal. This is metaphysics, man, it's important. So then I said to her, now mother, by Allah I said this. What about all those prophets that preceded him? That I studied, Adam, Noah, Moses, David, his son, Solomon. They didn't believe he was God. How are they going to go to paradise? If you have to believe that God is the awwal, is the beginning. وَلَيْسَ لَهُ ابْتِدَاء, who has no beginning. So that means Jesus is and was and will be God, according to just simple logic. So he became God on this Sunday. Then who was the God of Moses and Abraham and all those gods before, all those prophets before Jesus came? My mother told me, I don't know. Then I said to her, how are those prophets going to go to heaven? They didn't worship him. They worship God. She said, I don't know. Then it was like, child psychology. Get him somewhere for some treatment. Maybe he's dyslexic. Oh, I'm going to get him some Ritalin. And that's basically how, at the age of 6, I lost complete faith in that religion. Although I couldn't have told you that. And then, in Google they have the cloud. You put all your documents in the cloud, right? So this is what we do with our knowledge. Instead of internalizing, we put it in the cloud. So basically I took religion at the age of 6 and put it in the cloud. Then I was around religious people who were profoundly intelligent, intellectually gifted in the church that I went to. But they would get caught sleeping with the secretary. Yeah, it's happened to me. My teacher, at the age of 9 years old, man, who taught me in Hebrew school, had an affair with the secretary of the church. You're my qudwa. You never hear that the companions of the Prophet called the Prophet their teachers. They said, qudwatuna. He was our example. Something that we lived up to. So, bad examples. So about the age of 12 or 13, when you hit, puberty, start to go through some big changes. I put on like 10 inches, I think, from 12 to like 15. I started to look for orientation. And that's the nature of a person. If you cannot find a God, if you cannot find a God, you'll make a God. Human beings are created to worship something. If we don't worship Allah, we worship something else. And all of us have seen people worshiping things other than God. I'm not talking about idols. I'm talking about materialism, man. In Muslim countries, I was traveling recently. There was an 84-year-old man. His decomposed body was found in his apartment. His children hadn't even called him or visited him for two weeks, man. What's your excuse in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Your father, 82-year-old man. Because we're busy making tawaf in the malls. We're busy purchasing things, which is fine, but have a balance. So at that time, I started looking for orientation, and I found it in the hip-hop community. As he said, I think since I've been here, maybe 1,000 times, I was a hip-hop DJ. No problem, inshallah. So I found it in the late 80s, early 90s. Hip-hop was more of a social, almost anti-system type mean